Again, I feel like I'm putting myself out in this moment, and I'm going to. I had a reaction with Calliope and Lynn, your communication. When you said, Lynn, that you felt criticized, I was like upset. I was angry because I didn't want you to be criticized for anything, um, and I thought, well, this is a dilemma. Like, it's important that Calliope, you share your experience. And then I thought of myself and why this is so draws my attention. It's because I am disappointed in people sometimes, and my communication style is to criticize. And how could I stay with what I'm feeling and not criticize? Because, well, yeah, I mean, because you, especially when try so hard to get it right or to think things through beforehand. So if you had blind spots or was it perfect, I want to have empathy for that. And at the same time, it would be difficult to say I'm disappointed, um, or I didn't get my need met,
Mm.
and that seems difficult.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Robin. It, I think one of the most important things to empower a group is that the leader is robust enough to be criticized. Because when you can't criticize your leaders, your therapists, your teachers, then you're you're fitting in, of course, right? And so I think when you're a leader, and I think this is important for all of us, in terms of taking on leadership, leading groups, working with your own vulnerability, and even being part of a group, working with your own vulnerability so that you can be with the hurt feelings when you're criticized. But then there's the second step, it's the, but then it's, oh, I can use this. I can be with this. So I want you to take in that part of it, Robin, and rather than you are saying you don't want to criticize, maybe the feeling that that there's another step there. Criticism is never the last step.
Right, I understand, but wouldn't it also be the growth to communicate to you without criticizing?
I don't think it's possible when you're feeling terribly frustrated without bending yourself into a pretzel. And that's what we don't want is a group of pretzels.
Glad that Robin, you just said what you said about the word criticism, and in my own experience, I would use another word when I start reacting. For me, it comes from the same place of criticism or anything. And Lynn, at the beginning, you said, when we meet in small groups in between the classes, it would be great if we're not talking about others or blaming others, but we talk about ourselves. I am becoming more aware that when I start reacting, or when I start having a feeling of wanting to criticize something, whatever is happening is a trigger. I want to take responsibility for making myself uncomfortable from the reaction or from the criticism. I'm doing this, no one else. So I'm looking at myself, and this is what the group is interesting for me, and what you're leading into is like, it's not relating when I do that. What would be relating if, a little bit like Robin and you have said, I'm not criticizing. I will share how I'm feeling right now with the stimulation that happened. I feel uncomfortable for this or for that, my own limitations, because I've learned also that when I react or I do criticize, the only thing I really need from everyone is empathy, because I'm suffering. My criticism is a way of making myself suffer. Reacting is a way of making myself suffer. I'm becoming to really touch that in a very sensitive way. So I need to learn also to see when somebody's reacting or somebody's criticizing, they really need empathy right now. Am I able to offer them empathy? I'm looking at it in this way because I believe that I am the one in my own experience to change my own behavior, whatever happens around me. Because it's what I'm making myself experience. It's the quality of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to say briefly that criticism is also a feeling, and the feelings are fluid. They lead to other feelings. And if I'm feeling critical, I may need to say I'm feeling critical. You know, I don't want to hide it or sit on it uh, or
that we could just acknowledge the feeling and give it space, and then it's probably more building the trust that then we can hear more, not that direct instinctive pouring out, but just naming that, maybe not necessarily the content, but just naming that feeling, and then we can move from there. So what I was reflecting, I felt like for me, I want to practice naming it and also just pausing there, because I feel like when that feeling coming up, it's so easy to pouring out. My husband is my victim. I don't usually do it, but I feel like I have so much. Yeah, so criticism definitely something I want to work on. I usually hold it in with people, but with my husband or with my family, I can see I'm just readily pouring out. So what I think was helpful for me to name the feeling and pause there. Yeah, just think out loud here with you. Thank you.
the other thing that is very helpful, I find, in my relationship is if there's pouring out, then to repair it. That idea that you can repair something, and repairing sometimes to keep yourself from pouring out when you're at your wit's end, which people are in intimate relationships, is sometimes very difficult. But to repair is there's something creative about it.
Yeah, I feel like my exchange, our exchange, Lynn, you know, during our exchange, the way that I think the first time I responded to your question, it was, I wouldn't say pouring out, but the tone, I also felt it was a critical tone. And then Lynn responded and said, you know, I felt criticized initially, and then, you know, you took it and you did the AI thing, whatever. And then I responded back and I said, yeah, I heard that you felt criticized, and I was criticizing. But then what I did, because I stayed with that, and I explained it further. I said, because I was so frustrated. Because I don't want to believe that I am a person that I want to criticize just to criticize, and especially the leader, you know, or whatever. But it was just my frustration. So I feel like it's important that we can do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I want to say one thing to Michael again, because Michael, again, I have this difficulty because I feel if I may not hearing you well, but I feel like you want to resolve all within yourself. But to me, the resolution came with Lynn. Like this interaction that we had brought the resolution, and to me, that's something, I don't know how it is for you, Lynn, but it was the interaction. It wasn't like sitting for me and resolving it all by myself. I mean, Lynn reached out first. She said, I feel like, you said something about if you felt defensive. Then I said, I don't know. It was an interaction. In that, we resolved it.
It is about safety. So being able to, criticize isn't quite the right word, but being able to express a reaction that comes across as criticism to someone, and to be able to have that interaction with them. I mean, that's so vital in everyday conversations, or, outside of structured, intentional groups, to be able to have that freedom and an ability to do that with friends. It is about safety, to feeling safe to say something. I remember early, before I began working with couples, in my own relationship with my husband, early on we had some kind of clash, and I pulled myself away. I sat and I centered and used all my awareness tools. I've been doing this work since I was 20, and I'm a lot older than 70 also, or that is, it's turning 70. Anyway, I sat and discovered that calm place inside me, and came out of it, and I couldn't believe that he was still in a pissy mood. And I thought, well, I'm all centered now. We don't have to have this clash. And I realized that, oh, it doesn't work that way. Just centering myself doesn't resolve the situation. And that was the big, it was a big push, I think, for my continuing work and relationships. So it just reminded me of that.
Yeah, Calliope has been challenging me for months now, and I'm very happy about it, because there is obviously some truth in what she's saying. But I'm looking at myself with a microscope very, very deeply, and I'm discovering things I don't even know about myself. So when I try to express myself about it, it's not completely formed. So if we interpret that, I myself don't even know exactly where I'm going with this. But I know that by expressing myself about what I'm finding within myself in a very precise and attentive way, because I've been working on this reaction state for 3 years now, at least 10 hours a week. So it's not just a small thing I'm doing, expressing myself, but I'm not doing it by myself, because I'm in this group. So I'm exploring all this inner world in the presence of others.
What you're saying is that this practice, this experiment of really observing yourself and observing your reactivity, that you're spending 10 hours a week, and you're so passionate about it, and it's something that is leading you somewhere, of knowing some mysterious part of yourself that goes way out from inside to the whole world, to the past, to the future, to the mystical. And you don't want that to be misunderstood or simplified, that it's a very big thing, and it's a big focus for you, that it's within me, and I have to deal with my own reactivity, and not only I have to, but I want to know myself. And there's also something about, in interaction with another person, working it out with another person, something different will come. and it will still be something deep within me. And there are these two ways, the way and that we're working at again balancing them or joining them or being able to have both the introspection and the engagement with the other. Oh, when you said that, I just felt blah blah blah, and that can be really important too. But that's not what you're doing, and you want the freedom to do what you're doing, and that be honored and respected.
In fact, it is what I'm doing.
Yes.
Because I've learned so much by this introspection.
Yes, yes.
By being in presence with the group, I wouldn't have gone as far if I would have done it only by myself.